Now we will learn how to record spending the customer's or the tenant's cash. This means we pay expenses from cash that we physically receive before depositing that cash to the bank. There are two general rules when you collect cash from customers or tenants. If you expect to deposit all the cash, use the receive payment window like we learned in previous videos, and then that money should be recorded into undeposited funds. However, if you expect to spend the collected cash before you deposit it, and then you actually spend the cash and deposit the remainder, you will instead use the make deposit window and record the money into cash on hand. For example, let's imagine on August 4th, 2018, Holden the owner collected $1,000 cash from Johnny the tenant for rent that Johnny paid in advance. But then later that same day, he paid from that cash $100 to Rex Repair for an emergency repair. Let's also imagine even later on the same day, we paid from the petty cash collected $50 to FedEx for a delivery that was related to business but not related to any specific property. Then before the business day closed, we deposited the remaining cash on the same day. So if this is something that you do, this would be the way to record it. Very simple. From the main menu, click Banking, Make Deposit. Now, we said it was going to be August 24th of 2018, so let's just jump over to that. August 4th of 2018. And of course, we deposited the money we're actually depositing the money to Chase Bank. Okay? Now, first, we have to record that we received from Johnny the tenant, and we have to put on that same row the actual amount that we received. And the money we received from Johnny the tenant is really unearned rent. Unearned rental income of $1,000, because almost every time you receive rent physically, it's unearned because the tenant always pays in advance before staying in the place. So we have to acknowledge the total that Johnny gave us to properly increase Johnny's balance and to properly record the amount that we actually had as unearned rent. But you see, on the same day we collected we paid $100 for Rex Repair. So earlier in the day, we paid Rex Repair, and we paid Rex Repair for repair expense, okay, which is right here. And the amount of the cash that we handed Rex for the repair was $100. So on the same row as Rex Repair and repair expense, we put $100. Now on that same day, we also paid $50 to FedEx for a delivery from that same $1,000 cash. So we have to choose FedEx as our vendor, delivery expense as our expense, and the amount that we actually paid for delivery goes on the same row as the delivery expense. Now, here's the problem. The computer's telling us we're depositing more than we actually received in cash because it is very, very important that you put a minus sign next to each of the individual expenses that you actually paid. So what is happening here? Well, the unearned rent increases by $1,000 because that's the amount of unearned rent that Johnny paid, and of course Johnny's balance will go up by $1,000. Repair expense will increase by $100 because we paid $100 of this $1,000 to repair, and delivery expense will increase by $50 even though we put a minus. The minus is decreasing it from the deposit, but the $50 itself is increasing the amount that you paid for delivery. So this is how you would record the deposit at the end of the day. This is the total cash I got from the customer or tenant. Put a minus next to each expense that you paid from, and that means the amount that you're actually physically depositing in the bank account on August 4th is $850. And that's how you do it. After we click Save and Close, you can look at the trial balance, and if you open up your cash and bank and scroll to the bottom, you see that on August 4th, the proper amount that actually went into the bank, $850, is the amount that increased the bank account. Not $1,000, because even though we received $1,000, only $850 went into the bank. Now, what about this? What about the repair expense? Well, repair expense went up to $800. As you can see, the $100 here that came from the deposit on August 4th increased the amount we spent on repairs. And that's the same thing for delivery, and that's how you record a situation where you're depositing the net amount of cash. Most importantly, you have to look at the tenant balance detail. Because if you look at Johnny, you have to make sure that you give him a full $1,000 credit towards his balance, even though you paid some of his cash for your own expenses. So that's the proper way to record it, and I thank you for your attention.